In Solo Leveling Chapter 6, Sung Jinwoo and his party find themselves trapped in a mysterious double dungeon filled with deadly statues. As the hunters struggle to make sense of their dire situation, Jinwoo carefully observes the patterns of the attacks. He notices that the giant statue only strikes those who stand above a certain height, leading him to suspect that the dungeon operates under a strict set of rules. After a moment of deep analysis, Jinwoo recalls the ominous inscription on the temple walls, the commandments of God. Realizing that these commandments might hold the key to their survival, he quickly pieces together the meaning of the first rule, "Thou shalt worship God." Understanding its significance, Jinwoo urgently shouts for everyone to bow before the massive statue of God. Some hunters hesitate, uncertain if it will work, but out of desperation, they comply, clinging to the hope that the statue won't attack them. Trembling with fear, they lower themselves to the ground, bowing before the towering figure. After a tense moment, the statue suddenly halts its attacks, its massive limbs freezing in place. A chilling silence fills the temple as the hunters remain bowed, their breaths shaky with fear. Then, slowly, the statue's expression begins to shift. Its cold, emotionless face distorts, and a sinister grin spreads across its stone lips, a twisted, unsettling smile that sends shivers down the spines of those who dare to look up. They had no idea how long they would have to stay in that position, their bodies stiff with fear. Time seemed to drag on. Finally, one of the hunters couldn't take it anymore and stood up. "It hasn't attacked us," he said, his voice shaky. Seeing the statue remain still, they all began to think maybe it was over. The relief was almost too much to bear, but then, without warning, the ground suddenly shook. A deep rumble echoed through the air, and the hunters froze once again, fear rushing back through their veins. They froze in fear, unsure of what to do as they gazed up at the towering statue. The ground continued to shake, and their legs wobbled, making it hard to stay upright. A heavy silence filled the air, broken only by the distant rumbling. Panic began to rise again, but then Sung Jinwoo's words echoed in their minds. The dungeon, they now understood, followed a strict set of rules. The first rule had been to worship God, the second, to praise Him. The hunters remained still, confused and tense, as they tried to make sense of what that could mean. They could only wonder if praise meant something as simple as singing a hymn, or if it was something far more complex. One of the hunters, recalling his past as a choir member at church, grew confident. He decided to sing a hymn, thinking it was the right way to praise the statue. With shaky but determined steps, he began his song, his voice rising toward the towering figure. As he sang, Sung Jinwoo watched closely, noticing something unsettling. The man wasn't praising the right God, he was singing to a different one entirely. Before anyone could react, the statue's massive foot suddenly came down with terrifying force. In the blink of an eye, the man was crushed beneath the statue's heel, his body slammed into the ground with a sickening thud. The others stood frozen, horrified by the brutal display.